All right, what's up, family? All right, this is a long overdue video. We're going to title this one here, My Top 5 Greatest Boxers of All Time. Now, before I get into that, just remember, your top 5 may very well be different than what mine is, but here is my top 5 and why. Here we go. Starting off that count, the number 1 greatest boxer of all time is without no doubt Joe Louis. This is a man that was 27-0, with 23 of those fights being by knockout. Now, that's a lot that Joe Louis had to go through that a lot of people don't know. With those 27 fights, he was more than qualified for a title shot. They would not give it to him. Did you know that? With all the knockouts and all the wins, he was the number 1 top contender, but they refused to give him a title shot because of all the systemic racism that was going on at that time, still is to this day. We always heard the term corruption in boxing. Well, Joe Louis is a definitely clear. If you see his history, you definitely understand how, oh yeah, it's a lot of corruption in boxing. They had all kind of articles in the paper saying we don't ever want to have another black champion. Key word, we never want to have another black champion again. That again is going to be one of my other top 5. We're going to get to that. But they was claiming it's going to be all kind of race riots. It's all going to be all kind of looting if this guy become the champion. So they did everything to prevent him from getting a title shot. But watch this. Just listen to what I'm saying. 27-0, 23 knockouts. The guy was awesome, amazing, unstoppable. There's all the facts right there. This man was 27-0 before he even got a title shot. But not only that, this man had 25 title defense that still holds the record till this day. Now let me tell you something about that. See, the average boxer, if you look it up, the average boxer have about 3 to 5 title fight defenses. That's the average. Now, of course, you got some fights that's a little above average. Like, let's say, like Ali. Ali had 19. That's still 6 short of Joe Louis' 25. Tyson had 10 title defenses. That's 15 short. Of course, you got people like Mayweather, who he had a lot of title defense, but not 25. Till this day, Joe Louis has the highest title fight defenses, which is a total of 25. Until it was like his 28th fight, he got knocked out in the 12th round by the guy Schmillings, who, I don't even want to say this guy right here, but this guy, supported him big time. This guy, Schmillings, beat him, and it was as if we was at war. Germany against America, when we was going to war with all that junk. And this guy was acting like the boxing thing was the leader of that damn war and all that. So even though Schmillings wasn't the champion, he didn't get a title fight. Eventually, Joe Louis fought another guy, and he became the champion. But watch this. This shows you how corrupt boxing is. Definitely some corruption, major corruption. Do you know, even though he was the number 1 contender, now he just had that 1 loss on his belt. So now what that makes him 27-1, right? So look at this dirty thing they did to Joe Louis. They told him in order to get a title fight with this next guy, was actual title fight, they said him and his management had to sign a deal where the guy that he's fighting gets 10% of his winnings for the rest of his life and his career. So you see the nonsense with the corruption in boxing and the systemic racism. You know what that means? That means that the guy that he fought that night for the title fight, the guy that he fought, even if he win, he extra win. Even if he lose, he still wins financially. Whereas with Joe Louis, he wins the title fight, but he loses money to this guy for that fight and every fight after that. And you tell me that ain't some serious corruption there. But not only that.
You must be out of your goddamn mind. Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever
Between a
lived.
rock and a hard place.
A title fight between Joe Louis and Jim Braddock was made, passing over Max Schmeling, though Louis had to sign away 10% of all his future purses to Braddock.
Braddock's manager basically made Louis agree to give him a percentage of his purses for the rest of his career to get the fight.
What?
Yeah, but there was an understanding that, you're not getting a fight otherwise.
This guy enlisted in the military. He helped families pay for their funerals all the time. He did exhibition fights for the military, and all the money he got for those exhibition fights, he donated to the military of the country that he was always so proud to say, I love my country, I'm fighting for my country. Now remember, the president himself had called Joe Louis before he fought that rematch fight against that German and told him, you gotta win this fight. It's for the country. But you see how this same country did him dirty in the end. Do you know this same country, they got him for tax evasion, saying that he didn't pay taxes on all that money that he gave to the country, back to the military. Now you tell me how dirty that is. Where they could have easily dismissed that for all that he did. All the people that he helped enlist in the military because they used him as a poster boy. This bogus tax crap that they put on him. They could have easily dismissed that for all that he had done for the sport and for the military, personally. But they actually killed that man. You say how? Because at the early age of 66, they had him in so much debt, charging him $50,000 in interest a year on the money he owed back in taxes. But look, check this out. Even when he had exhibition fights where he would make hundreds of thousands of dollars, it still didn't cover his taxes. So let me tell you, y'all all know what stress and depression would do to a person. That man died at an early age of 66 from depression. Now, of course, they said heart, this and that, all this other stuff, but that had to do with stress and depression. This man, by far, was the greatest boxer in the history of boxing, period. Just look at his record. Look at all that he accomplished. And look how the country that he fought for and spoke so highly for did him dirty. See, now it makes you understand why Muhammad Ali said, I'm not going to the military. It makes you touch back on that statement Maya Angelou said so many times before that was so great, when she said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And that's what Ali was touching on when he said, I'm not going to the military to fight people that ain't done nothing to me, but here in this own country, y'all want to treat me like a secondhand citizen, treat me like crap, right to my face, treat me like crap, but you won't, no. See, he just never said his name. But yeah, by far, Joe Louis was the greatest boxer of all times, number one.
You must be out of your goddamn mind. Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived. I'll be with you boys in a minute. He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that? The new boy got? Mike Tyson. Look like a bulldog. He bad in him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their asses.
What about Rocky Marciano?
Oh, there they go. There they go. Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. That's they one. That's they one. Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano. Let me tell you something wonderful. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit.
He beat Joe Louis's ass.
That's right. He did whoop Joe Louis' ass. Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
All right, so let's move on. Sorry that one was long, but Joe Louis, he deserves that long commemoration. I'm saying the word wrong. He deserves that nobility of all, because he is the greatest of all time. But my second was who I grew up on. It would be Tommy Hearns. Now, like I said, I know a lot of y'all got y'all top 5. Maybe your top 3, your top 10, whatever. But this is mine. Tell me what yours is and why. But my second would be Tommy Hearns. I grew up on Tommy Hearns. This was a guy, to me, skinny, tall dude. When he first came around, jokers looked at him like, man, this skinny, tall man, that joker had dynamite in both his hands, knocking jokers out. And remember, he went up in the ranks and got titles, had battles with certain, we all remember, to this day, the Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler is still a historical fight to this day. Tommy Hearns is definitely one of my favorite fighters. I'll move on. Next one, by far, y'all know this one. You got to mention Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was one of the greatest, as he used to always say, greatest of all times. I know I always give you a word of the day. We're going with that statement right there. GOAT, greatest of all time. And he used to always say it, but he always gave great admiration to ones before him, such as Joe Louis. You know what I mean? He always put, they got pictures together and everything. But yeah, Ali, great in the ring, had a big mouth and backed up his mouth, but even what he did outside the ring, how he spoke up for his people, how he spoke up about the injustice towards his people, the injustice in this country. Dude was just amazing. Let's keep it going. Number 4, that's number 3. So remember, Joe Louis, number 1.
And you talking about me about some draft, and all of you white boys are breaking your neck to get to Switzerland and Canada and London. I'm not going to help nobody get something my Negroes don't have. If I'm going to die, I'll die now, right here fighting you. If I'm going to die, you my enemy. My enemies are white people, not Viet Congs or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here.
Number 2. Muhammad Ali, number 3. Number 4, I say Mike Tyson. Reason I say Mike Tyson, he was a very explosive fighter. In his era, man, this guy was just knocking out jokers left and right. You couldn't even see a fight. You went to the bathroom in a split second, you missed the fight. You're like, man, I just went to get popcorn. The fight is over. Remember how many times people was paying all this money for those fights, and the fight was over in like a matter of seconds. Man, but then, you know, Tyson was very entertaining, even outside the ring. The stuff he was doing, fights out in the ring, out in the street with Mitch Green and all that kind of nonsense, man, it was just real entertaining, man. Tyson was so entertaining. Remember, he did that stand-up where he gave his story about boxing. Man, it was like, it was better than most comedians on stage. That's how good it was when he told his version of stuff about in the ring, outside the ring. Very explosive, exciting fighter. Now, my last but not least fighter, Jack Johnson. See, early in the video when I was talking about Joe Louis, remember I said how racially systemic they had actually said in the papers and all kind of nonsense where they said we're not going to never have another black heavyweight champion. Now when they say never again, they was talking about Jack Johnson was the first. And the way they looked at him, like they didn't like how he talked junk. Why you can't talk junk? All you European jokers talk junk and it's fine. But when the person of color talk junk, oh, that's not right. They didn't like how he showboated. And of course, the real thing that really bothered him is that he had European women. So what? They're women. See, this is ridiculous how that racial stuff get in the way of so much things people can accomplish. It's just nonsense. But anyway, let me give you Jack Johnson's story. This dude was another cat knocking jokers out left and right, and they refused to give this guy a title. Refused.
A tremendous barrage of punches, lefts and rights, which have Burns helpless. At this very moment, in the early seconds of round 14, the police shut off the motion picture cameras and stepped into the ring, awarding the heavyweight championship of the world to Jack Johnson. Here,
undoubtedly the best boxer in the world, but they just was like, nah, we don't want to give him a title. This guy was actually stalking the actual champion, finding out where he was going at, doing that Muhammad Ali thing, finding out what bars he was at. He was doing everything to catch this guy and say, yo, give me a title fight. And the racist joke was like, I will never give a racist word, the N-word, I will never give an N-word a title shot. You see, it's like, how are you giving this guy the power to even say something like that and allow it to happen in the ring? But once again, corruption in boxing. But eventually, Jack Johnson did get his title shot and became the champion. And they went near and far to try to find a great white hype to beat this guy. Even the guy that used to be the champion, they went to him to get him out of retirement. And even he admitted, he said, man, I could have never beat that guy. And they said, yeah, but you're older now. That's why he beat you. He said, nah, I watched that guy. Even in my prime, I could have never beat that guy. That guy is just powerful, man. But yeah, reason I love Jack Johnson, because he broke barriers. And in his era, he was unstoppable. And he is definitely in the Hall of Fame, certainly in mine. So who is your top 5? Those are the reasons why my top 5. Now, of course, there are plenty of other great boxers out there. I'm going to give you one of my honorable mentions. And I got to mention this because it went over my head because of my dude Malik mentioned this. And boy, he made me remember, damn, you're right. One of my honorable mentions will be Lennox Lewis. Think about it. Lennox Lewis, great fighter. What makes Lennox Lewis so even a greater fighter is that any fighter that beat Lewis, he had a rematch and he beat every fighter that beat him in the rematch, redeeming himself. Every fighter can't say that. Every fighter cannot say that. Lennox Lewis could. Anybody that did beat him, he got a rematch and knocked him out. I remember that 2-pump chest after Rockman knocked him out. But when he got the rematch, he hit him with that combination. Poo-poo! And then he pumped his chest like, yeah. Yeah, so what's your top 5? That's my top 5.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Peace.